Welcome to Leader, the podcast where we delve into the heart of leadership and education, exploring the journeys and practices of those shaping the future for Black and Brown students in charter schools. I'm your host, Darryl Cobb, president of the Charter School Growth Fund. In each episode, we sit down with exceptional leaders from the charter school community, unpacking not only their successes, but also the profound personal stories that compel them to lead. Our conversations aim to surface actionable insights and highlight what it takes to build a great school. Whether you're an educator, a leader, or someone passionate about the transformative power of education, there's something here for you. Let's discover together what makes these leaders tick, the challenges they've overcome, and the wisdom they've gained. Hello, welcome to the next edition of the Leader to Leader podcast, where I have the opportunity to talk with some of the luminaries of education about what they do and what makes them tick. I'm Darryl Cobb, president of Charter School Growth Fund, and today I have the distinct honor and pleasure of being with Miss Julie Jackson, one of the true GOATs of our time in education. Julie, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with us today.
Well, it's very exciting to get to spend some time with you, Darryl. So I'm excited to be here.
Yes. I was going to start by saying, for those who don't know Julie, I feel like everybody knows Julie Jackson and your reputation. But for the two people out there who are not familiar with you in Uncommon Schools, I want to dig into your story and kind of what makes you tick. But first, can you help share with people your role as co-CEO of Uncommon Schools? And then what is Uncommon Schools? How many schools do you have? Where are they? How many students you serve?
Awesome. So my current title is co-CEO of Uncommon Schools. Uncommon Schools is one of the nation's highest performing pre-K to 12 charter schools in a network. We serve 20,000 students. That is super exciting.
How many?
20,000 students.
That is incredible.
Yes, we are in 5 cities and 3 states. We're public, we're free. I call us an urban prep school because we are preparing kids to go to and through college, students of low income families. That's kind of what we do, how we show up in that space. And we're excited to have done this almost 3 decades.
Almost 3 decades.
Yes, coming up on 3 decades.
Wow. And how long have you been with the organization?
I have been with the organization since 1998. So I joined in 1998. Uncommon officially launched in 1997.
So you've been there since the beginning.
Since the beginning. So it's been great to see it evolve and to see where we are and where we're headed. It's very exciting.
Okay. And I know you are a very humble person, but we're going to do a couple of brag moments here. First, tell us about, I know there were some amazing things with this last class of high schoolers who just graduated from Uncommon. So for the audience, you want to share some of the highlights from the last graduating class?
Yeah, so first and foremost, the last graduating class is receiving over $26 million in scholarships.
Say that number again.
$26 million. So when we talk about the work and we talk about college and, why go and if it's affordable, we are really ensuring that our students get scholarship monies to pay for school. Cool. So that is exciting that over $26 million they received. Our average student is only taking out $5,000 per year, so $20,000 over time. Right. And then 2/3 of our students are actually getting scholarships for full rides to college. But what excites me, Darryl, about our kids getting into college and what we've kind of started to do differently a little bit is we talk to students about what do they want to do? That's right. What is their dream? Where do they see themselves? So I've been talking a lot about the student experience, right? Mm-hmm. We know rigor is important. We know we have to prepare kids for the academic components. That's right. But what's the thing that's going to excite them to show up? And then how do we prepare them for that, right? So we know finance is important. We're teaching a financial literacy course that prepares seniors to exit high school and be prepared for what lies ahead. And we take those courses very seriously. So, for example, at our Washington Park High School in Newark, Mike Mann, who's been with the organization also since 1998, he teaches that course to seniors. So he teaches that course to seniors and gives seniors a chance to dive into financial literacy. Why is it important? What's it mean? So what I'm excited about this last class is They're not showing up to college with debt. They're also showing up and being passionate about what they're exploring. Yeah. And we say, you don't have to just pick this major. You have to be excited. And where do you see yourself?
That's right.
That's what excites me currently.
That's right. Making college part of the journey instead of the destination.
Yes.
Right. It's the part of the journey to get you to what you want to be passionate about for your life.
Yes. And it's important because we know the student experience matters.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay. One more brag point.
Okay.
I think a lot of times people will brag on the outcomes and they'll talk about how many kids went to college and, or what the test scores are. And we can talk about all those things. I think one of the special things about Uncommon is young people have had such a positive experience that they want to come back to Uncommon.
Yes.
So if you could share how many alums of Uncommon do you all have working and in what roles across the network? I think that's just truly a testament to what you and the team do.
Yeah, it's super exciting to me. We currently have 152 alums who sat in the seats of our students who have come back, not only to give back to the Uncommon, but more importantly, give back to their communities. So if you travel to Rochester, you'll see Kiana. She's a first-year principal. I'm like, this girl is doing amazing things. And if you see her circle, the joy and the rigor in her circle is pretty fascinating. So that's Kiana. If you travel down to Camden, you'll see the Ville sisters. One teaches 6th grade math, the other's on the operations team. Both of them went to North Star Uncommon schools from kindergarten to 12th grade. They graduated college and they're right back. And then if you travel to Newark, you'll run into Christian. Christian graduated from Uncommon. He also is an Emory alum and he's on the operations team. And then if we go to high school and we go into Pauline's class at Washington Park High School, she teaches U.S. African-American history. And for the last 2 years, she had 100% of students proficient on the AP exam.
Wow.
So it's like super exciting to me to see our alum and to see them coming back and just joining us and giving back to the community. So currently 152 and we're still growing.
That just speaks volumes to how much care you all put beyond the academics into young people that it would inspire them to want to come back.
Yes, and it's exciting to see their moves. I'm like, I say to them, look at this technique. They're like, remember, I sat in the seat and the technique was done to me. So now I'm doing it. So they're turning talks, they're asking a rigorous question. But what is really exciting, they're holding kids accountable, but still infusing joy. And that's what we want from our alum.
Love that. Okay.
That's exciting.
So many more uncommon questions about your leadership.
Yes.
But I want to go all the way back for our viewers. So where did you grow up? I want to understand about young Julie.
Okay.
Where did you grow up? Tell us about your family. And then we'll kind of go up from there. But let's go all the way back.
So I grew up in a very small town called Altoona, Pennsylvania.
I know Altoona. Grew up outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay, so you know it. Yes. Known as the famous, I think, for the horseshoe curve. That's what's the fame point. But yeah, I grew up in Altoona, Pennsylvania, which is a very small town in Pennsylvania. Grew up, my mother, my father, my sister. Not very diverse at all.
Okay.
I mean, I think at the time it was 97% white when I was living there and growing up. But what I would say, even though that was the case, I always felt seen. And at the time, I did not know that I would end up here or be on a path to education. But when I start thinking about it, I still remember 2 teachers that have truly changed who I am and how I show up. And that was my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Collin, and my 6th grade teacher, Mr. Charter. And the funniest thing about it, Mr. Charter wrote my recommendation for Teach for America.
Oh, wow.
I went back to my 6th grade teacher to ask him to write my recommendation because he knew the young Julie and the 6th grade Julie. And what he said when I talked to him is I was always helping out, correcting papers and doing things like that. So that's kind of how I grew up. And some people that know me, when I was in 8th grade, I tragically lost my father. My father was murdered when I was in 8th grade. And that is the point that changed everything for me. It changed who I was. It changed how I show up. And it had me go into real reflection. And when people ask me today, how do I do this work? How do I sustain this work? I realized it was everything my father poured into me when I was a child. And it's kind of it's how I lead, why I lead, and why I still show up in that way.
Okay. I want to dig in on those. There's so much more, and we're going to come back to the childhood, but just that statement about your father, I know that there were some very key lessons that you took from him that you lead with today. Would you mind sharing one or two of those?
Of course, I don't mind sharing. So, and it's interesting, he's murdered when I'm in 8th grade. I didn't even call upon those lessons until my first year of teaching. So I'm in my first year of teaching. I'm excited. I'm Teach for America. I'm super excited. I trained, I think it was 3rd or 4th grade. I think I had like 4 or 6 kids in the class that I was team teaching with people. I show up to my placement site. I have 8th grade and I have 33 kids. So I'm like, here we go, right? But I'm excited. I'm joyful. But in the beginning, I was just, I didn't know what to do correctly enough for 30 kids. And it was really challenging. And I felt like if I'm the teacher, it is my job to teach the students and making sure I'm getting the content and curriculum. And I remember it was October, and I remember this date because I went home from work on that Friday, and I said, something has to change. Either I can't keep showing up here, or I have to get better. And then I remembered and I reflected, and I called upon the 3 lessons that my father taught me. And lesson number 1, he always said to me, Julie, have a high bar of excellence. But what is really powerful about that, Darryl, he said, never let anybody determine your bar. And then he said, whatever goal you set, when you achieve it, immediately raise it.
Reset the bar.
So reset your own bar. So that has stuck with me, because people, everything I do. And then the second thing that he taught me, which is really valuable to me, and he said, never let your reason for your first loss be the reason for your second loss, because if so, you did not properly prepare. And we know this work is challenging, and we know we're going to have wins and losses. But what I learned from that is, if I didn't do this correct as a teacher, as a leader, I write down, Darryl, what happened. I write down my gap, and then I prepare differently, so that's not the same gap. And then the third thing that he taught me is, like, Julie, find your passion and pursue it with great urgency, and never apologize for what you're passionate about. So those 3 lessons were able to go back into the classroom. And I remember it that weekend. I went in on Monday, and this is where I started writing the students individual notes. I wrote 33 notes. I put them on the class because I already knew what was happening. So I wrote the note to build the rapport faster. And I wrote the notes. I was just a new person. And even the students were like, what happened to Ms. Jackson? But it was pretty exciting. And those are the 3 lessons that made me get through that year of teaching and not think about Teach for America as a 2-year commitment. I started to think about it as my calling and my life's journey.
Oh, I love that. All right, I want to go back to young Julie. So you, as an 8th grader, you lose your father. For a lot of people, that may have thrown them off path. Talk to me about your family, and after that, what would if you said you had a sister?
Yes.
Well, if I talked to your sister, what would she say about your role in the family? Was Julie the one who was keeping us on track? Was Julie the one who was making us laugh? Was Julie the one who was, demanding the most from all of us? What was your role?
I think what they would say then and say now is Julie's focused. I think even my family was like, Julie is focused. Right? She is focused on what she's trying to do and what she's trying to achieve. My mom was just really strong for the family, but my mother comes from a family of 13. So we had a lot of siblings. We have a lot of cousins,
you got cousins
nieces,
for days,
cousins for days. So the family just wrapped their arms around in a way that, like, we see you, we value you, we know you're hurting, and we together will overcome this, right?
Okay.
And then I was always very active in my school, played sports, was part of student government, student council.
What sport?
So I played basketball. I also ran track.
Okay.
So track and basketball. And that's why,
what events in track?
I ran the 100, the 200.
Oh, you were a sprinter.
Yeah, I was a sprinter.
You were fast.
So it's like
fast.
That's like what's good for this job, right? It's a marathon at a sprinter's pace, 4x1 and 4x4. Okay. So sports for me kept me grounded.
Yep.
And it was the coaches that had a high bar, but also you had a team sport. So in addition to going through this tragedy as a child, I have my family that's wrapping their arms around me. And I also have my school community and my friends. And although it's not a diverse community, I was still being seen, valued, heard in a way that was quite powerful.
Well, it's funny you say that your family and your school, extended school family, wrap their arms around you, because that's so much of what I see and know about your leadership, and the way in which you have led at Uncommon is really wrapping your arms around both the kids and the adults in the schools. So I see that in your story.
So I learned that from my small town, Altoona, Pennsylvania.
I love it. Shout out Altoona.
Yes.
So where did you go for college?
I went to undergrad at Shippensburg University.
Okay.
So I went there and I ran track. Okay. So also a small community, a lot of friends there. Did some graduate work at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and then got my master's from William Patterson.
Okay. And how did that experience at Shippensburg? I actually had a lot of classmates who went to Shippensburg. We probably know some people in common. How did that experience lead you to Teach for America?
Well, actually,
or was there something else in between?
It was in between. When I was doing graduate work at the University of Wisconsin, that's what kind of led me to Teach for America. Okay. Because one of my friends at the time said she heard about this thing called Teach for America.
And did you know you wanted to be an educator, or was
No, I did not know I wanted to be an educator. But if I think back and you kind of track the points along the way, I always volunteered and did a lot of stuff around service and children. The big volunteer thing I did and where I worked for a couple of summers was at Martha's Table in Washington, D.C. Okay. And I think Martha's Table is what changed me. And this is before I even knew about Teach for America. But there were two girls there, which they don't know, is Michelle and Melissa. And they were cousins. And it was a summer program that I ran. And they just taught me, like, you have to be excited. You have to have high energy. You also have to know how to manage students. And you have to just be part of the community. And I did that for 2 years. I worked at Martha's Table in Washington, D.C., which was a summer program. That program inspired me to think more about what I wanted to do. So then when I found out about Teach for America, it seemed to kind of connect. So Teach for America, I was like, okay, this sounds exciting. I can give back for 2 years, which I'm excited about. At the time, I can get some of my loans paid. And you can be part of a group of people who are trying to make a difference. You know, it's the whole thing. If you're not part of the problem, you're part of the solution. And we hear about all these things in education. So it was an opportunity for me to go into the classroom and to see what is possible. Like, I didn't know I was going to get 8th grade, but hey, I was there. So that's what led me into teaching. Okay.
So you go to TFA. Where was your first school?
My first school was Patterson, New Jersey, 8th grade, School 30, also known as MLK. Okay. And there was another core member there with me across the hall, Ayanna Taylor, who is one of still my best friends to this day. And there was a cohort of us that were actually in Patterson. Okay. So I think we had like 12 or 14 of us in Patterson.
Okay. So 8th grade.
8th grade.
First day of school. You walk into your classroom. How many students in the class?
I had 33 kids.
33. You said that. 33 kids in the classroom. First day. You look back on it now. How would you now, as Julie, who's seen a whole lot of first-year teachers, what would you say about Julie's first day of class?
My first day of class was not as organized as it needed to be. So I opened the door, said good morning, and then I went into the room. We all know you're supposed to be at the threshold, right? So I'm in the room waiting for students to come in. They're coming in like talking, doing the things they're supposed to do as 8th graders. And I'll tell you, if they hear this and watch this, like 5 of them said, "Are you the sub?" Right? They like, "You the sub?" I'm like, "No, I'm your actual teacher." They cracked up laughing. They're like, "Okay, you're not gonna last here, right?" So that was like my first day. But what was interesting about my first day of school is I had 33 students and I had 30 desks. So I go downstairs, I'm like, I don't have enough desks. They're like, that is your desk. I'm like, wow. Like, so immediately I was in a situation where I have 3 kids, I don't have enough desks. And so I'm already unorganized, right? And so I go in, cheerful Julie, I'm excited. I'm teaching, English at the time. I'm very excited. What I quickly realized is the students were far behind academically. So what I planned for them, they were not able to do, which led to some classroom management issues. So yeah, that's what happened on the first day of Julie's time.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Okay, so you're at William Patterson, 33 kids. Did you stay there 2 years?
I stayed there 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yes.
4 years. And so what ultimately you grew from that first teacher who didn't know how to manage the classroom and know how to help kids who weren't on grade level get there.
Yep.
You learned a set of skills over the 4 years.
Yes.
Then how did you decide, okay, there's something else, something more I want to do?
Well, interesting thing about the first year, like around October, I realized I have to increase my preparation, because if we say like this, it's not fair to the students that Julie's a first year teacher.
That's
like
right.
I am still responsible for making them learn. So I had to quickly realize
They've only got 1 year.
Yes, I have to get my management down. So I met students at the door. I wrote notes every day. And I also...
And where did you get that that knowledge of that's what you had to do? Where'd that come from?
Because good coaches make connections with their players. And I think about sports, or if you study like John Wooden, out of UCLA, he talked about,
the pyramid.
Skills matter, pyramid of success, but character matters just as important, right? So I always knew the people that I was inspired by always poured into me. So how do I get my students to see that I see them, I appreciate them, I value them? And keep in mind, I had 3 sections of 30 plus kids. So I didn't just have 33 kids for the same day. I'm 90
to 100 kids.
So what I realized early on, I had to build rapport very fast. And this is a very funny story, what I used to do. I used to go to the cafeteria, because that's the time where I'm like, because I used to say, you waste my time in class, I waste your time. I would go sit at the cafeteria table with them. They're like, Miss Jackson, what are you doing down here? And then, a couple of students that I couldn't build rapport with, or I find more challenging, I used to go to their sports practice with them and show up and talk to the coach. Like, how do you get Marquise to learn? How do you get Marquise? So I was pouring into them in a way that wasn't normal for them. Yeah. So that was important to me, to quickly build that rapport and that relationships.
Showed that you cared deeply.
And then I had to get involved in the community, which I was excited about. And at the time, I mean, she's retired now, but people know Essence Carson, famous basketball player. She walked the halls of MLK. And she came to me one day and said, I heard you use the ball and we don't have a team. Okay, I didn't know her skill set at the time, right? I'm like, I should have been like, yes, sign up now. And I started coaching a team. There was already a league in Patterson. So MLK entered the league and had a team. So I was teaching and then coaching and developing that rapport. And then my 2 years was up, and I was like, shame on me to leave after 2 years. So I went back into the classroom. That's when I realized, Darryl, I wanted to increase my impact. And I knew being a classroom teacher wouldn't increase my impact. I wanted to be a leader. But what I didn't want to happen, which I was kind of watching the field, is be a leader. And I was never a great teacher. So I stayed 2 more years there. After I left there, I joined Uncommon. And I continued to be a teacher, to continue to get feedback. And when I felt like I was a strong enough teacher, that's when I pursued leadership.
Got it.
That's kind of like the journey.
That's the journey. That's the journey.
And then also not giving up on kids. So when I left Patterson, after 4 years, there was no coach of the basketball team. So I still went back and coached the team. At the time, well, my husband now, Dana,
yes,
Teach for America
Dana.
as well.
Shout out UVA.
Same core.
Yeah.
Well, my daughter is at UVA.
I didn't know that.
She's in her sophomore year at UVA. So we have some UVA in the family.
I love it.
And she's loving it. But yeah, so we went back and still coached the basketball team for 2 additional years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of the journey.
Love that. Love that. All right. So now you're at Uncommon.
Yes.
And you get to step into the principalship. I'm super curious. Again, we talked about your first year as a teacher, your first time standing in front of your staff as a principal. What would you've coached many, many principals. I feel like you mentioned John Wooden, right? He had a huge coaching tree, right? Of all the people. I feel like there's a Julie Jackson coaching tree out there, and a bunch of our guests that we've had on are part of that tree. But you were a first-time principal. And that first meeting in front of your staff, I'm sure the butterflies were going like they were before a race.
Yes.
What would you say to that Julie now?
Well, I would say that Julie, because I was a teacher, I was able to talk about it from their lens. So it wasn't like principals getting up here saying this. I have lived it. I have taught it. I have done it. So it was a situation where it's a true collaboration, right? But what I would say is it's essential as a new principal, you still have to have a vision that you are executing on that vision. Right. And that vision has to be able to be articulated, shared, and talk about what it looks like and what it doesn't look like. And for me, that was key. Like, what does this vision look like and what doesn't it look like? Because that is the key to success as any principal. And being able to stand in front of your staff in a way that shows that you're have good presence, but you're also not a know-it-all. Like, this is going to be a joint effort and collaboration, but it starts with an aligned vision.
Yeah. I often get into, I was going to say discussions.
Okay.
with people who suggest, in education, should we do it, this way or that way? Should we use this curriculum or that curriculum? My argument is always, what you need is a leader who has a vision and understands how to drive clarity and fidelity to the implementation of that vision. Agreed. Through other adults. And if you have that, like, yes, curriculum and other things matter, but that is the most important thing. And that is what I just heard you articulate.
That's
and
essential.
Why.
That is essential. And especially if you're trying, Darryl, to build excellence at scale. Right. We're not trying to, what works in one classroom, my friends. We have 20,000 students. We are trying to build excellence at scale. And when you're trying to build excellence at scale, you need to have a clear vision, as you said. And then you need to have people that are able to implement that with fidelity. Yeah, I agree with that.
That's absolutely right. I love that. Okay, so let's fast forward. So you were principal, and then maybe give me this. What are the 2 or 3 things you took from a long career being a principal that are cornerstones of what you tell young principals today?
You must see people. Like, it doesn't matter if you build the best arrival system, if you build the best data system, you must see people and pour into people, students, teachers, and leaders and families, because they are the ones who will carry out the vision. So early on, you put your head down, you do the work, you're smart, you build great systems, you look up and you find out you have gaps. So first and foremost, you must see people and you must have a way to pour into them that's also genuine. So like, the day is hectic, the day is busy, and I might have limited time, but I think what people would say, if I go to a school visit, Julie is fully present for that time that she's with me. So if we're only walking the halls for an hour, it's Darryl and Julie for one straight hour, and I'm fully present. So I would say you have to see people and you have to be fully present. The second thing is, people have to know your bar. Like, they have to know your bar, right? They have to know what you're trying to achieve at the highest level. Those are the 2 pieces of advice I would give. Okay.
And you hold such an incredibly high bar for what you believe students and adults can do. And you talked about your father telling you the lessons of set the bar high and then reset it if you hit it. When you think about your bar for kids and adults, can you articulate what that is? Because it is so high that I think people, because you pour into people, people are running to meet that high bar that you set.
Well, for kids, I just want them to like dream big and get pushed. Like, I think sometimes we're like, our scholars or our students are not capable of that. But if you teach them to be curious and you teach them to ask questions, and early on, the joke would be when I started teaching, I would say, at the end of football practice, are you tired, Marquise? Yeah. Yes. So at the end of this math class, you're supposed to be tired. That would be my joke. You're supposed to be working these problems out. You're supposed to be struggling. You're supposed to be getting better. So for students, you have to raise the bar for what is possible. So academically and character, right? You want them to be good people. You want students to be able to give back to others. So it's articulated into them as what are they trying to achieve? But I think the things that people might not see is, if you don't achieve it, it's not a fail. But we're working towards that. And I think that's what people don't see if they come visit us all the time or see that in action, right? Yeah. And it's another quote from like Vince Lombardi. And he said something like, perfection isn't attainable, but excellence, you're always in the pursuit of excellence. So if you don't reach perfection, you can chase excellence. So we are always chasing excellence. I'm always chasing excellence, right? And then the way you do that with students is connecting with them. It's being very honest with them about like, hey, this is where you are. This is what was good. And this is what we're still shooting for. So I say for students, it's bite-sized chunks of what they're trying to accomplish. And your own children, you don't give them 5 pieces of feedback because then they don't listen to you, right? They're like, Ma, what are you talking about?
Yes.
But hey, you did this thing really well. This is my piece of advice for moving forward. And then for adults, I find out it's just pouring into them and letting them see what's possible, right? Once they get the data, Darryl, they're like, okay, this technique worked. Come back in and give me feedback. One of the things that I do think that makes Uncommon unique and is like our secret sauce is that we can really make people better faster. Like, I do believe that we can make a first-year teacher better, or a fifth-year teacher, or even a first or fourth-year principal better faster. And what we do is we just apply good techniques of good coaches, right? If you're playing a sport, the coach is not going to wait to the end of the game to say, Darryl, you missed all your free throws because you had your palm on the ball. That would be crazy.
Right.
So why would we go into a classroom and let 40 minutes of instruction go if we saw a gap and we could give the teacher the feedback and they can improve learning?
Yeah.
So that is, people say, what's your secret sauce? We can make people better faster.
I love that. I think of probably a lot of people out there who will hear your bar for excellence and knowing that you're going to push adults to get better faster, kids to get there, and they're going to think, that sounds amazing. And it doesn't sound fun, right? And I know from being in the schools, right, you all do this with an intentional focus on joy and smiles and adults happy and kids being happy. Can you help me understand a little bit how you balance that, or how you ensure that both are happening at the same time?
Yeah. So I think one thing, if you go back to coaching, like practice matters. Like practice matters.
It matters more than the game.
Yes.
It matters more than the game.
So we are doing all these things in practice. We call them practice clinics, right? So there's no kids. There's no kids. We're just practicing, and we're showing you what will happen in the classroom. So it's not an abrupt surprise, right? We're saying this is what we're practicing. We're practicing real-time feedback, and there's different ways that you can give real-time feedback. It can be an interruption. You can send kids to a turn and talk. Just last week in class, I was like, hey, I have an idea. He was like, oh, Ms. Jackson, share your ideas. I'm prompting them that there's probably a piece of feedback that I want to show the teacher. And because the teacher is new, I'm going to use that prompt, right? Yeah. If it's like a 3-year teacher, we'll say, go to the turn and talk, whisper to you. You're like, I got it, right? And you're back in there, right? So we practice in the practice clinic to show you what to expect. But what I would tell people, what's important, the main job is student learning, my friends. It's not okay to be in a classroom that goes 40 and 50 minutes when you could have made it better in the moment because you're sacrificing kids' learning.
Amen.
But in addition to that, it's all the times that people pour into you, right?
That's right.
It's not an I got you moment. People don't see the 3 or 4 texts that you sent to the person in the last 2 weeks. I do something called a praise tracker that I keep.
Okay.
And it's like in this role, like I'm in a lot of different places. So I have different categories, my direct reports, teachers, principals, and I see something, I say something, so I'll send a text, I'll send an email. We just had a recent round of data where we had some teachers that really did a great job. Yeah. I hand wrote them a note and sent it to the school. So it's all those moments of time that build up and you pour into somebody. So when you give feedback, they assume the best.
Yes.
And they implement the feedback.
Yeah. You sound like a good coach.
Hey, it's from everybody's poured into me.
You sound like a good coach. Okay, so you were principal for how many years?
A lot.
A lot. Okay, you were principal for a lot of years, and now you're sitting in the seat as the co-CEO.
Yes.
So talk to me about what you've had to learn as a CEO of an entity that was different from being, whether it was a principal or a principal manager or any of your other roles. What is different about what you've had to learn to have excellence at this job?
Yes, that's a great question, Darryl, and I think a lot about it. You go through more layers of people to get to goal. Mm-hmm. When you're a principal, you get the idea, you share it, it goes to implementation. When I'm the superintendent, it just has to go 1 or 2 layers, it goes to implementation. when you're trying to do change management from this seat, you have to be careful and think about all the layers that you have to invest along the way.
Yes.
So I might get the idea and be passionate and urgent. If I go straight to execution, we're going to have all kinds of gaps and problems, right? I learned, right? I learned. So I can still be passionate. I can still be urgent, but I have to make sure that I'm investing all the key players along the way who are in charge of implementation. So we're aligned on that, but we have to say, how will it go here? What will this leader think? What will this school think? So we can still go to execution, but there's layers of people that you have to think about in order to still get to goal. That's one idea. But the second thing that I would say is that I might do a little differently is like, you can't be afraid to like say, press go. You can't be afraid to press go.
I love that.
People are like, all this red tape. But I'm like, you just never seen it before. You can't be afraid if you have 4 people unaligned or you think they're unaligned to press go.
Yeah.
And then I say you have to do your own homework. You have to figure out where the strengths are and where the gaps are and not be afraid. I think at this level, people are afraid to talk directly to the people. So when I go to schools, I'm talking to teachers, I'm talking to leaders, I'm asking questions about their experience. And then if I see that's a trend, that's our gap that we have to fix. Because in this role now, I have to really think about the teacher and student experience in a different way because we are big and we need people to continue to do this work. That's how I would think about it.
Okay.
Did I answer?
That is perfect. I love sometimes you got to press go.
So I got to press go.
My version of that, and my team will tell you they've heard it, is that sometimes you got to start by starting.
Yeah.
You got to start by starting.
Because at this level, people are like, oh my gosh, we keep talking about the work. Like if we just did something, it would be a little bit better.
That's right.
So I agree with you. Yes.
That's right. So good. So as the co-CEO of such a like 20,000 students is larger. I think the average school district in this country is
52 schools.
Right, it's like 5,000 students, right? So you are like 4 times larger than the average school district. And when people look from the outside, they see the tremendous results. They see the alums coming back. They see the high school seniors scholarship numbers. It looks like everything is working and going well. Where is the place where when you stepped into the role, you're like, oh, we need to pour a little more oil on this place at Uncommon to get it working at the level that it needs to for the adults and kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a couple of things. Like right now, what I'm thinking about and we've been thinking about, so pre-pandemic, our students were graduating college at 6 times that of their peers, right?
Incredible.
6 times that of their peers, right? Now it's 4 times that of their peers. So we have to figure out like what is happening. And that's what keeps me up at night. Like people will say, oh, it's still 4 times as their peers, but that's kids that we're talking about. So when I think about what we need to pour more on, going region by region and looking at each region, right? What are we saying to students? What are we saying to students about college, about their experience? What are we saying to families? So that is what keeps me up at night. And I am pouring a lot of effort and work into that as a team because we have to get back to those pre-pandemic numbers. We went from 6 times to 4 times. And it's 2025.
Right.
So
and those are real, those 2 times less, like those are real kids.
They're real kids with real numbers. And people say why? Because we do still believe a degree puts kids on a path to economic freedom. And we believe that. Like we haven't
seen... The numbers bear that out.
Yes. We haven't seen enough programs yet that we have 20,000 students. So we haven't seen enough programs yet that satisfy kids who don't go. I don't want them just going to the workforce. We want them to have a career, lifelong, being financially stable. So that's what we're working on right now.
Okay.
That's what we're working on right now.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that.
I've been talking a lot about 4-minute mile because we're talking about Faith, who's been going for
Faith. I loved the.
Okay, you love it?
I love it. I love when she made the run and like the team of support that she had from Nike, from the other runners. Like I literally, I teared up. She didn't hit the 4-minute, but I teared up at she was audacious enough to say, I'm a track guy too.
Yes.
I was high jumper and triple jumper.
Yes.
So I absolutely love Sorry, I cut you off because I get excited about it.
I love that you love this. So we launched our summit this summer, and I launched in front of everyone. And I use the faith story. So if you ask anybody on Common, everybody's supposed to know what's your self 4-minute mile. So when I go and ask the principal, I'm like, what's your self 4-minute mile? Like, what are you going after? And that's what we're talking about. Like, what are we going after? Like the sub 4-minute mile. So if you come to our schools, please ask somebody,
I will ask,
what is their sub 4-minute mile?
I love that.
Because even how Nike wrapped their arms around her and the runners. And what's great about Faith, and when I was talking about that quote about perfection versus excellence, she's still breathing her own times and is faster than any woman has ever run the race.
That's right.
So so we're talking about sub 4-minute mile. So for me, one of my sub 4-minute miles is getting this college graduation rate back up to pre-pandemic
levels.
That's what I'm working on.
I absolutely, I
That's
love
so
that.
exciting that we share the same story.
Yeah. I am. My family will tell you, they're like, if there's a track meet on, like just
I'm obsessed
go
with it.
in another room because they're like, Dad's gonna sit here and watch this whole entire thing.
Because running kind of is equivalent to our job. It's like practice matters. Practice matters. You have to have self-discipline. You have to surround yourself for training with the best people if you want to improve your time. So if we're going to be excellence at scaled on Common, we have to make sure in the organization we are learning and growing from each other and pushing each other. So
that's right. And I always love to say your practice needs to be harder than your race. I feel like so many times in education, if the race is the classroom, right? Everybody's like, oh, like I'm ready for the race. And it's like, well, how hard did you practice? And did your practice look like something? I mean, we're sitting in Chicago, right? People will tell you Michael Jordan, like as great as he was on game day, right? Practice was where he was tearing up his teammates on a day in and day out basis. And for them, they were like, whoo, it's a game day. I can breathe because he's not going to be on my back.
Right.
But I feel like we got that backwards in education.
I think we're afraid to have adults practice.
Yeah.
Right. But if you set it up as a practice prepares you for the big game, which is your classroom, which directly impacts learning and achievement, practice matters. And like 2025, we still do practice clinics. We run practice clinics.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Something that you and I have talked about. Something that you and I have talked about. Right, you are a Black woman co-leading a network that serves 20,000 plus students. That doesn't happen often, whether it's in the charter sector or in districts. When we look at leadership and we see images of leadership, they are not often of people of color, and even less are they Black women or Latinas. So talk to me a little bit about how that has played a part in your leadership and how you think about that. I'm sure there are young teachers and young women of color watching this today saying, yes, one day I want to sit in a CEO seat and I see Julie doing it. And so I now know it's possible. How do you think about that in terms of your leadership?
Yeah, I think representation matters so much, Darryl. Like I was a teacher, a dean, managing director at the time. I think president, representation really, really matters. So what I say to people is it's important that our kids are seeing people who look like them throughout every part of the organization. Amen. Teachers, deans, operations, presidents, and co-CEO. But with that comes a lot of responsibility. So I feel like for me, I'm very accessible. So when I'm in a school, I am speaking to students, to teachers, to leaders, to parents. It is my job for people to know that I'm accessible because I once sat in that seat. And when you aspire to be something like CEO or co-CEO, I say keep dreaming big, but do all the necessary work so when you get the seat, you are fully prepared to execute, right? So I think one of my strengths, because I was a teacher and a leader, like I can go into a school, I can quickly analyze like what's going well, what's the gap, and give feedback to make someone better. At the same time, recognize their strengths. And this seat holds a lot of responsibility, but I try to have fun on the journey, right?
Yes.
I think what happens as in the beginning, you start out, you don't have any fun, you're just doing the work. But I also tell people like you have to enjoy the journey. And I really believe our time on this earth is very, very short. And that is why I am passionate and urgent. And I tell people and I tell teachers, like if I give feedback, you can see sometimes they're deflated. I was like, that's okay. You have to enjoy the journey and be willing to put into work. So representation matters. And also, if you're in this role, it is important that you are seeing everybody in the organization. So that's what I would say.
That's so powerful. I think often as leaders, like it is possible to just focus on the work, focus on your donors and like the other, your job is, while it is leading schools, it is also political, right? It is all of those, and it's easy to get focused on those things and forget that, the folks who are making the magic happen at Uncommon are the teachers who are with the kids every day and the parents who bring you their best child. Like no parent is like, oh, I'm going to bring you my worst child. They're bringing you the best of their kids on a day in and day out basis.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think for me, it's also important is, am I saying the names in the rooms that I'm in that people are not in? Am I saying their names? Am I putting their names on the radar? Am I thinking about like, who is the next person up? Whether it's for an instructional leader, for a DCI, for a coaching. And what I am proud of, because I was in the principal seat, so thinking about the instructional side of the house, along with Juliana Worrell, who is just doing great work and like,
shout out Juliana.
I have to shout her out because high capacity, able to get results at a high level. But we really thought about the principals. Darryl, right now at Uncommon, the average principal tenure is 11 years. And that doesn't always happen, right? So in addition to us thinking about the teacher and student experience, we have to think about the principal experience. And Juliana has done a good job of thinking about that and how we lead. And over 60% of our principals are people of color. And when I got first entered the role, that wasn't the case.
That wasn't the case.
It wasn't the case. So we built a fellowship that has been really thriving. And that fellowship allows us to name somebody 2 years before you even think you want to lead, right? People are like, I don't know about this. We're like, come on, let's join the fellowship. But what's key about Uncommon is the people who are doing the training have gotten results in their role. So Jody Jones, who was an excellent principal, is running the principal fellowship. So this is the last 2 years, I just sent her an email. We have entered more people in their first year of principalship who have been ready than ever before. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
That's powerful.
So trying to we try to build excellence.
I love that. I love that. Yes. I love that. Okay. Couple more questions and then we'll get out. But I want to take a slight detour and we're going to take a slight detour and we're going to come back. Lots of people either know you, Julie Jackson, legend, or they know the legend of Julie because of your coaching tree that other people who have been influenced by you have influenced them. But they see you and they think amazing leader, amazing in the classroom, amazing principal. Help people understand, who is Julie outside of those things? Like, it's Saturday, you got time to kick it. Like, what are you like walk us into that, Julie.
Well, first and foremost, I refill my own cup every single day first.
Okay.
Like, so that is non-work.
That is so important.
I every single day refill my cup.
Oh. And how do you do that?
Monday through Saturday, that is in the gym.
In the gym.
I am doing like a hard workout. I am pushing myself. I am pouring into myself and refilling my cup.
Okay.
I feel like, Darryl, when I leave the gym, I'm able to tackle the day or tackle anything that comes up. I can give to others because I poured fully into myself. So that is like my thing. So that's Monday, all week I do that.
Okay. So the track star is still with us in the gym.
Yeah, and I set goals for myself. People at the gym know my goals. They're trying to help me reach my goals. So it's a pretty funny thing, right?
I love
So
this.
that's the first thing is I refill my own cup because that is how I create balance for myself.
Yep.
Is then I feel like I'm able to tackle things in a better way.
Okay.
So, and then, I have some Julie likes. Like, I've refilled my own cup with the gym. People who know me, like, I have to have like my Starbucks. So gym, Starbucks. And then my family just really keeps me grounded. Amari, Nyla, and Dana, like, they are super supportive. They know that, like, this work really matters to me. Yeah. They know that I'm going to spend time doing the work, and they don't ever question that, but they support it. But I feel like I'm also present, right? Yeah. So if we're doing this thing on Saturday, I'm fully present for that amount of time. Yeah. So pouring into myself, staying present and doing all the things that re-energize myself. And then I'm a part of a women's organization, the Links Incorporated.
Yep.
So I'm a part
Links.
of that, Links, and that's a way that I'm also giving back, but with women who look like me.
It's a powerful
organization, some fantastic women. I'm blessed enough to do it in Essex County, New Jersey. But those are the things that I do that refill my cup and excite me and allow me to still give impact. And honestly, it lets me show up to this better.
Yep.
And is why I'm able to kind of do this in a marathon, you know?
Okay.
And then I speak to my mom on the phone almost every day.
Okay.
You know, catch up with her just to see what she's doing.
I'm sure she loves that.
The moms are like, you're, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's exciting. And then, within the organization, there's just people that I, connect with that refill my cup and inspire me. I mentioned Juliana, she does great work. I mentioned Jody Jones. And Uncommon's been around long enough to know we have those pockets of people in every region.
Yeah.
So that's helpful to me. So
there's a lot of leadership lessons in there about refilling your own cup first.
Yeah,
I think so many times leaders, and I've been guilty of this, like you try to fill everybody else's cup, and you're like, I ain't got time for my cup. I'm gonna go to bed because I'm trained. Yeah.
And it's interesting because even as a mom, like they'll be like, oh, we're doing this. I say, I have to go to the gym.
Sure.
They're like, okay. It's no matter what, it's Julie's cup first, and then I'm good to give to others.
Yeah. That's good. That's like the thing on the airplanes, like oxygen mask on you first, right? And then on the kids.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that's different as a co-CEO than maybe as a principal manager or a superintendent is you have to deal with politics inherently as part of our job. So can you tell me a little bit about how you think about the advocacy work that Uncommon needs to do so that you can be sure you all have what you need in order to educate the 20,000 young people?
Yeah, advocacy is essential at scale, and it's essential for all of us. It's important for us to use our voice to impact bills that get passed, to talk to politicians, to invite them into our schools to see what is possible. And Darryl, I would make a call for everyone who's leading or running a school. It takes more than 1, 2, or 3 or 4 networks. It takes everyone showing up, being collaborative in order to push this agenda forward. Because it's not just about the kids at Uncommon schools. It's about every kid who sits in a seat in a school, who needs better conditions in order to be able to thrive. So advocacy is essential and it needs to be part of all of our work.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of us, myself included, who 20 years ago, we thought as long as we put our heads down and did good work, that it would just explode and all of the opportunities would be there. And we now know that there are real barriers that we have to fight through on behalf of the kids and communities that we serve.
I definitely agree. In 1997, we just put our heads down and didn't think about those things, but those things are equally as important. And there's also organizations, as I mentioned, like Charter School Growth Finder, who are helping push through that work and setting up structures in order for us all to be successful.
One other kind of non sequitur question. You all at Uncommon have a really strong program that is rooted in the educational practices that I wish we could see everywhere in the country for kids and for all kids. Everybody is losing their shirts over AI is coming. AI is here. We need to do things entirely differently. I'm curious from your seat, how are you thinking about this?
Right. So the beauty of it is, like, having been doing this work for almost 3 decades, there have been trends that are supposed to come and they have gone very fast, right? So there's 2 things that we're doing. We still believe character matters. So we are still doing all the things around character, and that's important. And we still believe a college education matters, and we're going to keep saying it, and we believe in that, right? But we also know AI is here and people are figuring out what to do. So we're not going to get rid of teachers and start just using AI, because kids need human interactions and connections. And we learned that from the pandemic, right? But what we are doing is we are piloting and experimenting, right?
Okay.
We are thinking about how do we use AI to improve the teacher and student experience. So we have 2 veterans, Scott Kern and Mike Taubman. They've been with us for 20 years teaching, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible.
At Washington Park High School, and they are using AI a lot in their classes.
Okay.
So Scott and Mike have started to use it as a tool of how they give feedback to students. So you have people say, I tried AI and it doesn't work. Well, you haven't fed it the right and you haven't taught it the tools. So they have experimented with it of giving feedback on student papers. Students were able to receive feedback more often, faster, and it has improved students overall. Wow. And Scott Kern is using it in his class, and he's been able to get great results. His students performed, 89% of his students were able to pass the AP US History exam with some assistance from the AI tools. So we're happy to see 89% of the students pass.
That's pretty incredible when nationally we see maybe half that or a third of that rate of students passing. So that's actually incredible.
Yeah, and what's exciting as we talk about getting people better faster, he's been doing this work over 2 decades. So to now have a tool when he was already a strong teacher, get him to 89% is pretty incredible. So we're excited to see what AI can do.
That's great. Well, you hit on the place where I wanted to take us home. And I think, again, Uncommon is lauded for the academic results, but I know for you, it is an equal balance of academics and character. Could you peel back the top on the work that you all do and the work that really you have led and pioneered at Uncommon around character with students? Because I think that's something that in today's society, everybody is thinking a lot more about, and you all have been working on this for a long time at Uncommon.
Yeah, so it's something that we care deeply about, and it's important now and even before. So one of the things I think about is whole school moments, right? You can have the pockets of teachers, but what is your obligation as a school leader to making sure that you see your kids and they know you see them, you value them, you love them, and you have a high bar. And it looks different in every grade span. So in elementary, it's the circle, right? You're bringing kids together.
Can you describe the circle?
Yep, you're bringing kids together in a community circle, usually to some like beat of some kind of music or drums, and they come to the circle. And you, so in our elementary schools, they're all named after colleges to pour into students. They have a mascot. You're calling a college name and they're cheering, like, Rutgers, who are you? And they're giving their chants and cheers. And you're saying, I see you, I believe in you. You have chants and you have ways to get kids to make sure they're seen and valued. At the same time, you're asking questions, right? Who can tell me what is 6 times 7? Yes, Darryl, thank you. Who can get help? So what you're doing in that circle, Darryl, is you're modeling for teachers how to see kids, love them, value them, and engage them academically. So it's almost a showcase for teachers. So you have that at the elementary level. At the middle school, you still have that whole school moment. And that's when you are sharing and talking about real issues, right? Kids get advice from their friends all day, every day, right?
Especially in middle school.
And you don't know if that advice is correct. So if there's something that's happened or that experience, you can talk about it in that community. You can say, hey, this is what's happening right now. This is how we address it. How are you thinking about it? What do you do if you're sad or upset? How do you tap into that? How do you speak to your adults? So that circle is a way to actually pour into students.
Yep.
And because we're big, 52 schools, it has advantages and disadvantages, right? So we now have a scope and sequence for people. You don't have to use that exact scope and sequence. But if you're not sure of the topic and you're not sure how to engage kids, you got to get into that scope and sequence, right? And at the high schools, we have forums and we talk about issues. We also inspire them. Another way that we think about the joy, what I would tell people is now, like with announcements, which is at a high school, the high school team does morning announcements throughout the whole school. And I just went to watch one and they talked about what's the current thing we're talking about, what are we currently working on, and they're giving real shout outs. So you have to build them as a part of your school. And again, if nothing else, like people know, kids have to feel seen, valued, and heard. No matter what.
Say that one more time.
Seen, valued, and heard. Yeah. And regardless of the kid's circumstances or regardless of what they did that day, you have to make sure that is a part of your school. So that's kind of how we think about that joy. And then what we do in high school, we have something called High School 2.0, which students get to explore their interests during the school day. So students will have be a part of a chess club, or they're doing debate, or they're in an entrepreneur group or club. And that has really inspired students. We used to do it at the end of the school day, but that means like we're not taking it seriously and pouring into students.
That's right.
We hope to be able to do that in middle school and elementary school if we get more support and financial support. Okay. So what I say to people, seen, valued, and heard, but at the same time, you're in the business of school. So schools have to be rigorous and academically, and you have to just be using data to assess where you are and where you're headed. And And last thing I would say, we do walkthroughs. We do a culture walkthrough and a content walkthrough. So we have joy. What does it look like for a 5-year-old versus like a 12th grader is not going to be smiling at you, right? So you're not going to like that's not what joy looks like. And so we have a rubric that we use to assess where our schools are. And this assessment isn't necessarily for the students. It's as a network. Where are we and what are our gaps? So that's what I would say. So trying to build excellence at scale.
I love it. A whole bunch of leadership lessons from Julie Jackson. Thank you, Julie, for being here. Thank you so much for sharing who you are and all of the incredible things that you and the team at Uncommon do. We are just fortunate to all be learning from you.
Well, Darryl, I would say equally we are as fortunate because we're not able to do the things if we don't have the support from organizations like Charter School Growth Fund as well. So we still feel blessed to be part of that. So thank you for having me.
We're honored to support, and thank you, Julie. I appreciate it.